Going on, everybody? John McKechnie here with RotoWire. Welcome on in. Uh, welcome my fellow night owls out here. It's 9:30 Eastern time. We might be night owls, but this stream is for the early birds. Actually, draft early birds to be a little bit more specific. This stream presented by our friends over at DraftKings. We are uh, here kind of promoting their early bird best ball contests out here, and we're going to be doing a NFL best ball $1 million training camp draft here on this stream. Gonna be a lot of fun. So um, basically, I'll break it down for y'all this way. Essentially, I'm going to go over the ground rules here. I'm going to play a little promo from DraftKings. I'm going to enter a draft, and once it fills up, we're ready to rock. So thanks everyone for tuning in, joining me this evening. Yeah, I mean it's only February, but I mean we've been drafting for a minute now. If you're plugged in, early best ball is a really great time to kind of get ahead of things. It's a really good time, I feel like, to let your eyes adjust to the new ADP, because it just inherently looks so different from what you were used to drafting last year. Obviously, the ADP is a moving target. Like, if you think that you're locked in on everything, something's going to change. And there are a couple events every single off season that you can kind of set your watch to that are going to change things. The big one coming up this weekend is the NFL Combine, so it's going to be really interesting to see how our particular room is treating the rookies, and how reticent they are to draft them before we get their workout numbers. I think you can be pretty confident that a guy like Jeremiah Love, who you've heard of out of Notre Dame, the top running back in this class, feel pretty good about him going high in this draft here tonight. But beyond that, I feel like it's kind of wide open. I think we're going to see some of the receivers, whether it's Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, or Mekhi Lemon, come off the board sometime in maybe the late fourth, early fifth round, something like that. Just to kind of give you guys a rundown on this contest. So it's a big one, up to 117,000 entries in this bad boy. If you've played on DraftKings before, the scoring will be familiar, but just for those who are less familiar with it, passing touchdowns are 4 points over on DraftKings, 25 yards for points for passing yards, 300-yard game bonuses. Rushing touchdowns are 6 points. It's PPR. I think that's the kind of like the big wrinkle that you need to be aware of. Your lineup every single week is going to consist of one quarterback, two running backs, three wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. This is a 20-round draft, so we're going pretty deep into the player pool. Of course, there'll be well over 200 selections in this particular draft. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of get us primed here in case that we're a little slow to fill this room. But again, going back to my larger point here, we got this contest about a third of the way, or this particular draft about a third of the way filled right now. So still waiting on some folks to jump in. If you're joining me live, go on and join me. It's the NFL Best Ball $1 million training camp contest with $250K to first. It's a $10 entry. So come on in. It's a fast draft, 30 seconds per pick. Should be a good time. So we got 4 people in here right now. Still waiting again for this to get rolling in full. But just kind of to give you guys a sense of how I approach things for our drafts. I think a big thing that we do, obviously, at rotowire.com is we do our own rankings. We have our own best ball tools that are kind of essential, in my opinion, to use. Really kind of keep you plugged in. We update them all the time. I'm going to go ahead and there we go. Let me get this a little bit more zoomed in for you folks. And let's see here. Go ahead and maximize it for now. Still waiting for this draft room to fill. Here we are. So as it stands right now, as you can imagine, Bijan, the top dog over on DraftKings. I think that's pretty much consensus right now. I think that it's hard to argue against him. Zero running back seems like it's maybe tapering off a little bit generally, and I think people are just kind of trying to chase the best running back in the game, and I think that that's Bijan. I think that that's fair to say. I think going into last year, it was sort of a little bit more up for debate whether it's him or Jameer Gibbs as the best running back in football and best running back for fantasy. But I do feel like Bijan just is a little bit more unchallenged as far as his role is concerned within the Falcons offense. I think the Falcons offense should be a little bit better this year. Whether it's Michael Penix being taking another step forward, if it's that offensive line not dealing with the type of injuries that it did a year ago. I think there's a lot of ways that you can kind of talk yourself into this being, maybe the best season of Bijan Robinson's career, which, when you're talking about a talent of his level, that's pretty high up there as far as that production, that output is concerned. So, I mean, you could be looking at, well over 2,000 total yards type of thing with Bijan. But Jameer Gibbs, next up in our best ball rankings, Puka Nakua, not surprising. He's wide receiver one for fantasy coming into this season. I think Stafford coming back really kind of solidified that. It might not have been quite the case so much if Stafford were retiring. I think that would have changed the entire outlook of this Rams offense. But with Stafford being back, it's pretty clear to see why Puka would be your wide receiver one. I mean, the target share is pretty unbelievable. The per target production from him is outstanding. I don't know if there's many better receivers, but after the catch, ball in his hands, just like a very difficult guy to tackle, just a big play waiting to happen. He sort of reminds me of like imagine like the best version that you've seen of AJ Brown, but you get that every week because he doesn't play in the Titans or the run heavy Eagles offenses. You got Devin Achane next as let's see, running back 3 and the number 4 overall player, and then CMC. So I think that there's a little bit of like risk involved in McCaffrey in the sense that he's kind of hitting that wrong side of 30, but he's an outlier of a player. Like you can't really apply the same logic to McCaffrey that you would, kind of any like sort of run of the mill running back out there. But it does feel like, we have recent precedent to point to of McCaffrey being drafted really high, getting injured, and, all of a sudden, like the first overall pick in your fantasy draft is not really giving you much. And that really puts you behind the 8 ball. So for me, when we put out our RotoWire roundtable rankings back in January, I actually put McCaffrey pretty low. I think I might have been the low man of our collective roundtable as far as where McCaffrey placed on that, just because I'm worried about that cliff. I really am. So I think, I'll be doing tons of drafts over here on DraftKings. I think as far as like this top cluster of running backs, whether it's Bijan, Jameer, Achane or McCaffrey, I think I'll probably have the lowest exposure to CMC. Now, if he plays the full season, I think we know that that'll be a mistake on my part, but just a little bit worried about it. A little bit surprised. I suppose it's not a surprise that Jamar Chase is the wide receiver 2 here on DraftKings, but I think it is a little bit surprising to see him at 6 overall. He's someone that I would feel comfortable taking inside the top 5. I think I would even feel comfortable if I'm picking one. I'm probably taking Bijan almost every time, but I think there's an argument for Chase at number 1, and certainly at 2 or 3. I think that there's an argument. I know that Puka is tough to fade if he's available to you with the 3rd pick or something like that. But I feel like Chase is still right there, still at the top of his game. A fully healthy season from Burrow, And I think we're looking at a wide receiver one season from Jamar Chase. Looks like this room is about halfway full right now. So still waiting. You can still jump in, of course, like I was saying. Over on DraftKings, you just go to the $10 best ball $1 million training camp contest, the early bird tournament. Join me in there. We'll be drafting here once this room fills up. But I can keep talking about the rankings for a sec. But before that, I do have a message from our friends over at DraftKings.
It's the offseason, but on DraftKings, football never sleeps. Early Bird Best Ball is back. Get a head start on the season and compete for a share of $1 million in total prizes before the rest of the field even jumps in. Are you new to Best Ball? It's the easiest way to get in on the action without the weekly grind. Draft once, and that's it. Each week, your top scores automatically count. No roster moves, no weekly management. Just build your squad and let it ride all season long. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app and draft your early bird best ball lineup for a shot at a share of $1 million in prizes. Drafts stay open until the season kicks off, so now's the time to jump in. You draft it, we crown it, so sign up now using the link in the description below to take your shot at a share of $1 million in prizes on DraftKings Early Bird Best Ball Contest. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most states. Restrictions apply. See terms at DraftKings.com. Sponsored by DraftKings.
Look at that. We're back. Thanks to our friends again over at DraftKings, launching these contests early for the best ball crazies out there, such as myself. Gives us a nice scratching post to tackle here for the doldrums. Baseball hasn't started yet really in full. It's nice that pitchers and catchers are there, and we've got some spring training games going, but my goodness, do I miss drafting football. So good to have it back. Much appreciated at DraftKings for running these contests here. We're up to 7 out of 12 entrants here, so getting close to filling up. Sorry about the wait here. We'll keep things going, though, talking a little bit of rankings analysis before rubber meets the road here in just a few minutes, so bear with me here. But yeah, if you got any comments, questions on strategy, tactics, things of that nature, fire away in the comments. I'll get right to them. But let's see here. Ashton Genty, I think, is an interesting case here at pick number 11 in our rankings. He is the ADP 12 over on DraftKings. So about in agreement, our experts and the market over at DraftKings right now. I think it was a rocky rookie year for Genty. I think a lot of it was not his fault, and that was sort of my concern going into the season last year. It's like I think Genty was deserving of being the 6th overall pick, but I think in those instances, the conventional wisdom has kind of told us, at least over the last 15 years or so, that oftentimes those teams that are picking in the top 10 or even, close to the top 5, they kind of have bigger fish to fry than a running back. I think really the Cowboys taking Ezekiel Elliott in the 2016 draft is the only time where I can really think recently, and Saquon Barkley to a certain extent with the Giants, but where it's where is the team in their competitive window, and how much is the running back going to kind of help push them over the edge? And in the Raiders' case, I felt like they needed a whole new offensive line. I don't think anyone knew that things were going to be as tough as they were for Geno Smith last year, and the Pete Carroll experiment. I definitely liked it on paper when the Raiders made that move, but it just didn't pan out. And I think that ultimately when the offensive environment and the team context is as brutal as things were for the Raiders last year, someone like a Genty is going to suffer in that instance. So by him not really falling in the ADP relative to last year, I think it's kind of a statement from the market saying that okay, we're giving Ashton Genty a mulligan. We still believe in the talent that he possesses. Is just a tough year for him. And you know what? We're not going to grade with too sharp of a pencil because of it. Okay, looks like the room has filled up. Excellent news. Because I don't know how much longer I could have filibustered. Uh, just kidding. I probably could have gone on forever. I probably could have gotten to the end of the rankings and talked about these rookie tight ends that may or may not even get drafted in these DraftKings drafts or even the draft itself. But by God, we've got a draft coming up here. So we'll be getting started here in a minute. Give me a second to kind of get my setup here so you guys can have a nice draft board to follow along with. Looks like I have the second pick in this draft, which is just a good place to be. I'm certainly not mad at that. Gonna share this for you. I'll go ahead and move it down so nobody is looking at the usernames. Keep everyone anonymous. Just so everyone can protect their little industry street secrets on who they're going after. Okay, we got the draft board. It is up. Hello, I am back. You can see me now. All right, that's pretty good. All right, so again, I will be picking second. The draft is kicking off in 3, 2, 1. Again, I am picking second overall in this contest here. We will see how the table gets set here with the first overall pick. Unsurprisingly, it is Bijan Robinson. I'm going to go with Puka Nacua. Going Puka. I know I was talking about Jamar Chase earlier, but again, sometimes, especially right now, when you're kind of establishing your best ball portfolio, you don't know how many times you're going to get the second overall pick. So as much as I think that Jamar Chase is like right there level with Puka Nacua, there is like a realization of like the opportunities that you're going to get at that particular stage of the draft. And it's like, I'm not going to be getting the second pick every single time I'm up. So might as well go ahead and get a guy that I can pretty much only get there or maybe with the third pick. So I'll be kind of waiting a little bit here until my next selection. But to keep things going, a little bit of running analysis here. Jahmyr Gibbs, third off the board. Jamar Chase, fourth. Christian McCaffrey, fifth. So pretty standard, not too surprising. No one really rocking the boat too much with these first 5 picks. Amon-Ra St. Brown, JSN going 6, and the 7th pick overall. A little bit surprising to see Amon-Ra go ahead of JSN. But I don't know. I certainly understand the case. I think that Amon-Ra is just like, he's such a safe pick. You know that the target share is just monstrous. You kind of feel like Seattle, meanwhile, like it was probably best case scenario for JSN last year. I would imagine that they add a little bit to help at receiver alongside him, take a little bit of the pressure off. Maybe Torrey Horton takes a bit of a step forward. Not that Seattle's going to take a ton off of JSN's plate, and it's not like Amon-Ra St. Brown has no competition for targets either. I probably would have gone JSN there, but I'm just trying to kind of put my or take a walk in this guy's moccasins for why he took Amon-Ra St. Brown ahead of JSN. We've completed the first round now. It's kind of weird getting used to seeing Justin Jefferson fall as far as he does. It's been quite some time that we saw him available, after like the 6th or 7th pick. And now he's going at the end of the first round pretty routinely. I think a lot of that is team context based, like similar things that I was saying about Ashton Genty. I think could be applied a little bit to Jefferson. I think that the market is a little bit worried about the team context, and particularly the quarterback situation when it comes to Minnesota. Therefore, a little bit of slippage there for Jettas, but I still feel like Jettas is very much in his prime. I think he's still got a couple, game-changing type of seasons in him, and you just kind of hope that McCarthy, with that kind of rough year of experience under his belt, can kind of learn from those mistakes, and the offense can kind of take a bigger bounce back this year. McBride and Bowers, now second round selections in best ball, both of them. Okay, I am on the clock. Boy. All right, so I've got my pick basically of Pickens, who's likely to get franchise tagged, Nico Collins or Chris Olave. I'm going to go with Chris Olave. Um, I definitely wouldn't have thought I'd be saying this time a year ago, but I feel a little bit more confident in Tyler Shuck's number one than I do with CJ Stroud's. Maybe I'm over correcting what we saw in the postseason, but it was pretty brutal, was it not? As far as how CJ Stroud looked to end the season. So I'm a little bit reticent to jump back in and spend my second round pick on Nico Collins. Now, if he was around for me in the third round, I certainly would have considered it, but he just came off the board right after I made my selection. So I'll be back up again here soon. Got some running back options. I know I've started two running backs here, two receivers to start. I guess I'm going with the big time receiver build. I'm not going after Rashee Rice. I'm going to go with George Pickens. I still feel like even with CD Lamb there, Dallas is so kind of geared to the pass, I feel like, to where there's obviously room for that offense to support at a high level two receivers to really kind of get theirs. I like that pick of Zay Flowers at 3-3. It jumped the ADP just a little bit. Did not see him immediately kind of in that immediate queue on the player rankings. So a bit of a leap. You're going to see that this time of year because the ADP is it's setting, but it's not completely solidified just yet by any means. So, I mean, you can take these kind of wilder swings and fade the market a little bit more here at this stage here in February. Whereas like once we get into like July and August, you're not going to want to like jump a guy around off the rankings. That's just kind of like not an optimal way to do your builds. You're generally just kind of have to assume that the market is at least pretty efficient. And therefore, you can have your fades, of course, but it's a little bit risky to say that you're around smarter than like the wisdom of the crowd. So that's kind of how I feel about that Zay Flowers pick. It's just, right now I have no problem, jumping the rankings just a little bit, especially if you're not, enamored with the offense when it comes to AJ Brown, or, he might get traded. We'll see. Rashee Rice, we'll see what happens with him as well. You got two, a little bit interesting here as well. There's a bit of a slip here, it looks like, when it comes to Kenneth Walker. And I think that might have to do with the notion that he's not going to be back in Seattle. So the team context maybe not quite as good this coming year. But, like on a per game basis, I think he was pretty much equal to Zach Charbonnet last year. So, really a terrific run for him in the playoffs. Obviously, Super Bowl MVP is going to vault him up the kind of ADP standings for this coming season. But again, I think the room was a little bit more comfortable with Bucky Irving, his pass catching upside. Breece Hall, who is also an impending free agent. Jacobs, who's just kind of like your classic workhorse running back, kind of one of the last of those theoretical workhorse backs that was still available here at this stage of the draft. We do have, as you'll notice here, nice color coding here on the draft board. Team 11 has just gone the opposite way as me. So he's picking on one end, I'm picking on the other. He's gone all running backs to start: James Cook, Ashton Genty, Ken Walker, and Kyron Williams, whereas I've started out Puka, Chris Olave, and George Pickens. TBD on what I'm going to do. We're going to have to kind of see what the board is giving me. I'm about 4 picks away at this juncture. This team could be in the midst of building a bit of a Bengals stack here. They got Chase Brown and T. Higgins. They're not going to do that. They got Lamar Jackson with their 4th pick. So leaving that be, it appears. All right, I'm coming up in just a few here, so I'm gonna gather myself, gather a nice little queue going. All right, I am on the clock. This is a tricky one. Don't love the timing of the injury and everything and the severity, but I am a big believer in Quinshon Judkins, and I think that I'm willing to pay full boat. I suppose Javonte Williams obviously just got a pretty nice contract from the Cowboys as well. I could have maybe gotten double exposure to the Cowboys offense here early in my draft, but I do at the same time wonder if like that was the best season that you're going to get out of Javonte Williams. It can certainly cost you to decide that to get out a year early on certain guys, but sometimes it can really benefit you. Like Alvin Kamara, I mean, they're at different junctures of their career, but like Kamara last year was going around this pick, and if you picked him there, you weren't happy with it. I'm not saying that the same thing is going to happen to Javonte, but I was a little bit concerned as far as paying full freight, I suppose, for Javonte Williams. Amazing 11th round pick last year. Different discussion as your 4th round selection. Next up here. So running back continues to be a little bit shallow. RJ Harvey staring me right in the face. Yeah, I'm going to go that route because running back really does kind of dry up. Again, you've got Javonte, you've got Trevion Henderson, who got kind of like worked out of the mix a little bit when things mattered most for the Patriots. That's a little bit concerning. DeAndre Swift, it's kind of a similar deal as Javonte Williams in my mind. Like, love the player. I just worry that you're paying full price for last year, and I wonder if this year can be quite as good again. I wonder if the Cowboys definitely are paying Javonte a healthy enough sum to where it's like, well, they're probably not going to add like crazy competition, but is Jaden Blue really going to be a zero for them? Is Phil Maffa really going to be a zero for them? Are they really going to like go into the season just expecting Javonte to do the same thing again? I'm not so sure. And in Swift's case, like there is a little bit more of like an obvious next guy that you can kind of justify if you're the Bears having more of a true committee split. I think with Kyle Monungai and like the flashes that he showed, I felt like late in the season in particular. So that kind of steered me off of those guys. Whereas in Harvey's case, I think he was the overall production was about as good. The usage was a little bit like frustrating, and especially like when J.K. Dobbins was healthy for the Broncos. It was like where is R.J. Harvey? And Sean Payton can be kind of like the fantasy players like worst nightmare sometimes. With the way that it's like, who just scored that touchdown? I've never heard of him. Oh, that guy plays offensive line. Like, are you kidding me? So there can be some of that stuff with Denver, but I still am kind of like overall optimistic on the Denver offense, at least not completely falling away this coming season. I feel like RJ Harvey showed enough to where like he's going to have a bigger, more consistent share of this offense throughout the entirety of the season. So I felt comfortable grabbing him. So 3 receivers to start, 2 running backs. So now I'm kind of back to not that I wasn't going best player available, but as far as this roster build is concerned and where I'm spreading my draft capital around, I'm a little bit more freed up to do whatever I please at this point. Whereas, I'd feel a little bit queasy if I kept going receiver up through like the 5th round, that type of thing. Got a little bit of a run on quarterbacks coming potentially. 2 just went back to back with Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams going to start this 6th round off. Carnell Tate goes. So he, team 10, it looks like, has taken 2 of the elite rookie wide receivers. That's Mekhi Lemon and Carnell Tate. Both of those guys are going to be at the combine this week. Going to be, huge weeks for them. I think everyone's expecting Mekhi Lemon kind of like a guy that you could pretty easily envision working his way into a really heavy slot role early on. I think that makes sense in this particular format to take him ahead of Carnell Tate. I just think that wherever he lands, the target projection a little bit safer in terms of Mekhi Lemon versus Carnell Tate. Drake May comes off the board, so we've got 3 quarterbacks going off the board here in this round alone. Tyler Warren, the fourth tight end off the board in the middle of the sixth round. I'm going to start taking a look-see here for how I'm going to approach my next pick here coming up in just a minute. Harold Fannin, I'm sniped. Just did a deep dive on some tight ends over at RotoWire. You can check that article for free. Talking about best ball tight end strategy. Fannin really popped as far as my deeper studying of running or a tight end performance this past year. I'm back on the clock here. I'm going Trevor Lawrence. Now it's obviously a different pick for Trevor Lawrence than he was a year ago. He's probably going about 40-ish spots higher than he did a year ago. I don't have like any like obvious pairing options with him right now. I'm back on the board here, or back on the clock. So I've got 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a quarterback. Grabbed a tight end. I grabbed Kyle Pitts. Hopefully that things go smoothly with his contract. Sounds like the Falcons plan to franchise tag him. Sometimes players don't like that, of course. So we'll see if that like really kind of drags in to the into the summer or anything like that. I could ultimately regret that. But Tucker Kraft was certainly a consideration for me, but sometimes the tiebreaker can be that he's not coming out, or Pitts is not coming off the type of injury that Kraft is. Kraft obviously going down with that serious knee injury, so you wonder if he's going to be like all the way back right away. Although with these best ball drafts, you're drafting for December more than September. But even still, I think Pitts really showed a lot. I mean, he was Mr. December this past year, especially that Buccaneers game. I think really kind of like altered like the outcome of the entirety of these best ball tournaments with his Thursday night performance. I think one of the best, if not the best, single game tight end showings that maybe like there hadn't been one that good since. You'd have to go back to like Shannon Sharp on the John Elway Broncos for a game that huge out of a tight end. So that obviously changed things. And I think that upside is real. I think it just kind of took a while for him to get his footing and on a consistent basis, and for the Falcons to kind of get out of their own way. I think with fully unleashing the unicorn that is Kyle Pitts. So I'm sure that some of the people watching will roll their eyes. They've been burned by Kyle Pitts enough times. I get it. I don't blame anyone for being a little bit hesitant on Kyle Pitts, but I still think like for the way that he finished the year and like the flashes that he's shown where he is in his career, to where it's like the 7th round is still not that steep. I don't feel like for Kyle Pitts. So I was happy with that. Quarterbacks, one big theme I'm kind of seeing here, folks, is the shape is different than it was a year ago. Like you're pretty accustomed to seeing Josh Allen go in the first among quarterbacks. Then you had Lamar, Jaden Daniels, but like there was and Joe Burrow, but it felt like, Jalen Hurts was going a good bit higher last year, and you could kind of like wait a while. Like you could wait until like the 10th, 11th round to get your quarterback last year. It doesn't feel like that's the case this year. Like we've already seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've seen 12 quarterbacks go off the board by the 87th pick. I think we might have seen like 9 last year, and like the 10th through 12th quarterback selections were probably going closer to like the 11th round. So we're in the 8th round right now. So that goes to show you that the market seems to be sensitive to how quarterbacks performed last year and how fading I guess like basically what I'm trying to say is the value has dried up. You can't quite as easily wait at quarterback. I'm gonna wait a bit for my second one because I took my first one in the 6th round. But you're gonna have to like be very attuned to what's happening in the draft, in the sense that like you got to look at what else is available at a given position that you're targeting. And if you don't like the options that are coming your way, and your pick is coming up, you might kind of like have to bite the bullet a little bit. Speaking of coming up in the draft, I'm just about 2 picks away. So let's see what we're going to get into here. Oof. I don't love what I'm seeing here, folks. But that's okay. All right, I'm going to take Xavier Worthy. I feel like that's like a safe PPR play. I'm expecting Mahomes to maybe not be totally himself this year, but I think out of necessity, the Chiefs are going to have to like get him more involved this year. So feeling that. Got a tough kind of conundrum here. I want to go with a running back next, and I'm kind of between Blake Corum and Jadarian Price. There's been some steam on Jadarian Price, and I wonder if we'll be talking a week or so from now, and there's no prayer of you getting Jadarian Price in the 10th round, that type of thing, or I guess early ninth, with the 98th overall selection. Like he could be going, closer to where maybe like Tony Pollard, or even Kyle Monungai, 7'10" or 8'5". We're going. I think Price is going to do really well for himself at the combine. I think he's really fast. He's got that blazing speed that Notre Dame used him on kick returns. Pretty fresh, having worked behind Jeremiah Love these last couple of years. So you feel good in the sense that he comes into the league with plenty of tread on the tires. Obviously, it only really matters for this year. Of course, is he going to have the role? That's the big thing. But if he's picked in the second round, the way that the big cluster of running backs last year was taken in the second round, I feel like there's a good chance that he really ends up turning a profit at this particular price point, and it certainly could be even better if he crushes it at the combine. So I'm going to be very interested to see what he does this coming weekend. Let's see what else is out there. Wandale, Michael Pittman, Chuba Hubbard, Jordan Love, David Montgomery, Stephon Diggs. Diggs and Montgomery, I'm a little bit worried about the cliff for those guys this year being fantasy relevant to the point of being selected in the first 10 rounds. I don't know if I'm going to have a ton of exposure if that's the kind of going rate for those guys. Rico Dowdle, it sounds like he's not going to be back in Carolina, but I mean, he had that great month or so. I think he definitely showed that enough to where he's going to get a nice contract and get a chance to compete. But we'll see if he's able to capture a major workload, or if he's more of part of a committee next season. We are almost to the halfway point here. We're into the 10th round. Baker Mayfield just went off the board, paired up with Mike Evans. So Team 11 has some pretty good correlation. Yeah, Team 11 was the one that had 4 running backs to start, but has the Rome Caleb stack as well as the Mike Evans Baker Mayfield stack. That's pretty good correlation drafting by Team 11 there. So kind of an extreme approach to get started there with 4 running backs, but it may not be as insane this year as it might have seemed in years past. But still going to be kind of fighting a bit of an uphill battle at receiver. Although if you can still build out a room that has Odunze, Evans, DJ Moore, and Khalil Shakir, I think you could do a lot worse than that, especially with having kind of a bully ball running back room there to start with. Let's see, James Cook, Ashton Genty, Ken Walker, and Kyron Williams. Tyreek Hill finally off the board here in the 10th round. Don't know what to make of him for this year. We don't know where he's going to be playing, and we don't know what version of Tyreek Hill we can really expect to see at this point, with him coming off of, it was a pretty gruesome knee injury on that Monday Night Football game all those months ago. All right, I am on deck here. So far, I've got three running backs, four receivers, a quarterback, and a tight end. I'm up. I have Chris Olave. Why don't I go ahead, stack him up with Tyler Shuck? I was definitely impressed with what we saw from Shuck down the stretch last year. Hoping that it can kind of continue. I hope I don't get like a Bryce Young level rug pull like last year. You know, he finished the 24 season really well, really strong, to the point where people were like, wait a second, you know, the Panthers might not actually be this complete fantasy wasteland. And then the pass catchers had, and Bryce Young investors both kind of had a tough go from there. I'm going to go ahead and get another correlating piece. I'm going to grab Brenton Strange as my second tight end. So pair him up with Trevor Lawrence. So go ahead and get some pieces that fit together as far as passing games goes. And I'm optimistic about New Orleans this year, and I think that it's fair to be like really optimistic, really bullish on the Jaguars. I feel like they clearly made the right hire with Liam Cohen. Lawrence has tons of weapons to work with. I think with Travis Hunter, even kind of going to be playing more defense than offense this year. I think Parker Washington showed enough to where it's like, yeah, him. If Brian Thomas can kind of get back in gear, Brenton Strange looking really good. I think there's a lot to like about this Jaguars offense, and I think Trevor Lawrence in and of himself is like, on a talent alone basis, kind of near the top of the league. And I think we're entering the prime of his career. I know he had kind of like the doldrums in 2023 and 24. But in 22, I mean, he had the Jaguars looking really, really dangerous there for a while. And, he going back to like his high school recruiting, I mean, he was an unbelievable prospect. It just took him a while to kind of finally click in, but I'm buying that it's real now. Let's see, Dallas Goedert and Hunter Henry go next. And okay, so with this tight end run, I think this is really interesting, actually. I'm glad that the board kind of unfolded this way. So it seems like the market is kind of optimistic about George Kittle and his return from an Achilles tear. I'm never optimistic about guys coming off an Achilles tear, especially this far into Kittle's career. Again, you're playing for December, not September when it comes to these drafts, but is he going to look like George Kittle? I'm just not so sure. And, in my article that I posted up on RotoWire last week talking about tight ends, I did a little bit of a deeper dig into how things shook out the results. In Dallas Goedert's case, I think last year was the first time since like 2019 that he had more than 5 touchdowns, and he had 11. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with A.J. Brown in the shape of that passing game. They're going to have a new offense. If Philly's pattern holds, they're going to have a good offensive coordinator this year. It's kind of been like, Shane Steichen, Brian Johnson, Kellen Moore, Kevin Patullo. So if the new guy can kind of fix things and be more Kellen Moore than Brian Johnson, then there's reasons to be optimistic. I don't think that Goddard's fall off is going to be super extreme. I think he's still extremely important to that offense. I think he's still really good, actually, but 11 touchdowns really kind of fueled where he finished in the overall tight end standings last year. And I'm just a little bit hesitant to invest that he's going to do that again. Whereas Strange on like a per game basis last year, I thought looked really good. I think the Jaguars have every reason to believe that he's kind of like their tight end for now and for the future. He's always been kind of impressive on a per target basis. It was just a matter of him getting the opportunities, and he did. And I think last year also people were kind of wondering with the Liam Cohen offense, he didn't throw to tight ends that much in Tampa Bay. It's impressive on Cohen's part to not be too rigid in his scheming and kind of be a little bit more open to what's available to him. And getting Brenton Strange involved, I think what was, something that really kind of got that Jaguars offense in gear this past year. We got a little Houston stack here. Jaden Higgins and CJ Stroud both going to team 8. Coming back around here pretty quickly. Let's see here. Yep, I'm 2 picks away. Don't love my options here, so maybe it makes sense to jump somebody a little bit. And I think one of those guys that it does make sense is Kayshon Boutte. Now, in PPR formats, maybe he's not going to rake, but at the same time, I feel like the Patriots need to get him more involved. I felt like on a per target basis, all he did was produce. Like all he did was make big plays pretty much any time that his number was called. So maybe he's not the best PPR option. Like, it might be asking a lot for to expect, 100 targets for Kayshon Boutte, but man, like I'm pretty sure that he might end up being that guy that if you think back to LSU in 2020, I think it was when he was a freshman there, it's like this guy looks like he's going to be the next big thing out of LSU, kind of takes this circuitous route to get back to relevancy this past year, but he does it. It's a great story. And I am a believer in his, and you want some attachment to Drake May if you can get it. So I'll go in that direction. All right, we are up again here. Running back options are thin. I suppose I could get a third tight end. I don't like doing that at this stage of the draft. I think I've spent enough at tight end. I'm going to reach a little bit at wide receiver. I'm going to take Jameer DK for the Titans. I know Cam Ward's still out there, but I'm already pretty set on quarterback for this next little bit, although the cliff at quarterback could be pretty extreme. Once you get past Cam Ward, you got Kyler Murray, Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy, Jacoby Brissett, Shadur Sanders, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, and those guys are all, kind of end game type of options. Wow, looks like our viewership has jumped up just a little bit. What's going on, everybody? Again, I'm John McKechnie. Thanks for joining me here. We're doing a live draft here for DraftKings Early Bird. You can check out our promotional link in the show description for more information on this. But yeah, DraftKings, they already got best ball rolling for this upcoming season. This is a great week to be doing it. The combine is this coming weekend, so that's going to change a lot of things. So we're trying to hunt for some value now before the board kind of gets reconfigured following the draft and everyone gets enamored with some guy that isn't good at football but runs a 4.3 40 or something like that. So digging in here. This is I would hardly even consider a February draft sicko hours for best ball anymore. It's really just kind of starting your prep early and having some skin in the game, getting a good picture of what the ADP looks like. So again, really appreciate everyone that's tuning in, hanging out with me right now here on the RotoWire YouTube channel. And again, if you want to check us out at RotoWire and you haven't already subscribed, you can use our code YouTube15 when you go to rotowire.com. Get 15% off any subscription. It's going to help you a lot for your best ball and football. Baseball's coming up. Draft season for baseball is in full swing right now. So we have, for I'm biased, I know the guys, but I think we have the best baseball content in the game. Love our baseball analysts, baseball writers. So they do an amazing job. They can help you out. YouTube 15 is the code to get 15% off at RotoWire. Just go to rotowire.com to check that out. Okay, so going back to my most recent selection, I grabbed Jameer DK. Now the Titans are really interesting going into this offseason. They've seemed to actually hire an adult in the room as their head coach, Robert Saleh, no frills type of guy. I like his coaching style. I think that he was just sort of betrayed by the fact that he was coaching the Jets. I think that's sort of a no, and not to say that the Titans is the easiest job in the world, but he takes over with a ton of cap space, and you can feel confident if you're the Titans that you have your guy in Cam Ward. Now it's time to build around him. And I think that you could at once argue that, the Titans are going to be very involved in adding some pass catchers this offseason. They could be very involved in free agency or even in the draft. But I feel like DK's role is safe. I feel like Alec Eomanor, he's someone that might be a little bit like either drafted over or signed over to kind of not have the best role. But DK, I think, showed enough last year to where it's like he's got to be that slot guy for the Titans. He's so fast, runs in the low 4.3s, does a ton in the return game as well. Not that that's a huge thing for us here in best ball, but it's not nothing. And yeah, now I'm just a believer in his talent. He was good at Wisconsin. He was really good at Florida. I definitely like what he brings to the table, and I feel like of what's not nailed down in the Titans offense, I feel like you could do worse than going after Shamir DK. I feel like his role is going to be solid this coming season. I'm one pick away. Just coming up here. Yeah, running back. If I could take a couple things back, I probably would have done better to get more of a true kind of bell cow guy earlier. So that's just kind of a lesson learned for this year, because it really dries up, the running backs do, in a pretty impressive fashion. There's really not a ton to love. Once you get to this stage of the draft, you get some rookies that you could be interested in. I'm going to go with Sean Tucker, though. It's not to say that I don't believe in Bucky Irving, but I don't know what Rachaad White's deal is going to be. I feel like, Tucker has done enough on when he gets opportunities to where it's like, he probably needs to be a little bit more involved in that Buccaneers offense. A little bit shaky on the Bucs after the way that they kind of finished out the season last year. But even still, I feel like Sean Tucker, not the worst pick you could get right there. I feel good about my receiver room. I've got 6 of them right now as we are in the 14th round, 15th round. All right, so 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 6 receivers, 2 tight ends is my build right now. So that kind of gives me the flexibility to do whatever right here. I'm going to go back to the well at running back, though. I'm going to kind of attack this problem with volume. I'm going to go with Nick Singleton. I'm going to take another rookie running back. Kind of a frustrating career at Penn State for Nick Singleton. I think he was the number 1 rated running back recruit in his class, and he looked like it on a couple of occasions. I think he had this weird freshman and junior seasons were amazing, and sophomore and senior years were a little bit rockier for him. But I think he's a little bit more conventionally like workhorse coded than his teammate Katron Allen is. I feel like Allen just doesn't quite have the foot speed that Singleton does. It was a frustrating year from Singleton. Like that, if you were to flip flop his junior and senior seasons, I wouldn't have had a prayer of getting him at this stage of a best ball draft. Like he would have been going probably where like Jonah Coleman at the very least, or maybe even higher, was going. So I still believe in the talent. I kind of have to talk myself into the talent at this stage of the draft, of course, but that's okay. I like, there's probably everyone that's on the board right now. At one point or another, I've been like, oh no, this guy's the next big thing. And yet they're still available in the 16th round of a draft. That's okay. Can't win them all. Okay, what else we got here? How else is the board progressing? I've been kind of asleep at the wheel as far as what else is going on in the draft. So after Singleton, there's sort of a run right now to get like the last of the at least somewhat viable running backs that are still available. So right before I got Tucker, J.K. Dobbins went off the board. Aaron Jones went before I got Nick Singleton. Then Jonathan Brooks, remember him, going right after Braylon Allen. I think he makes some sense there. Given the Breece Hall situation with the Jets, Rachaad White comes off the board, and Kamani Vidal also in the 15th round there. Oh, we're flying, baby. We're in the 16th round. This is excellent. Team 11, let's see. I keep coming back to Team 11, but they have a very interesting team. So they are attacking their tight end problem with volume. Three straight tight ends with AJ Barner, Colby Parkinson, and Kate Otten. I think you could have certainly done worse than those guys if you were just going to say right before you started the draft, I'm not going to touch tight end until the 14th round. I think you'd end up being pretty okay with how that room turned out. Could probably use it. Probably another running back or receiver. Tight end is certainly in play. I think I have my eyes set on one particular spot, though. Yeah, quarterback. It's getting pretty grim out there at quarterback. So might have to grab one with one of these next two selections. Oof. Gut punch. Omar Cooper comes off the board. Who knows? Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. To get his teammate, Elijah Surratt, out of Indiana by way of James Madison, by way of St. Francis, I think it was, where he got started. He's kind of like this physical, big body, contested catch type of guy. So you're not counting on him for a ton of separation, big plays necessarily, but like put it in the area. Surratt's probably coming down with it and with some attitude attached to it. He's a beast. So big fan of his. Happy to get him. I think it's going to be interesting to see how things pan out this week between him and Omar Cooper as far as like the consensus rankings are concerned. All right, here we go. Grabbing Shadur time, if you can see that. Yeah, I just need a third quarterback, basically. You don't want to do a 20-round draft and have fewer than three quarterbacks most of the time, I would say, especially if I don't have like a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, something like that. I think you want to have a little bit of security there. So my quarterback room, it reads as Trevor Lawrence and then 2 second-year guys that may or may not pan out. So I was going to need to kind of thread the needle there. Hopefully at least one of Shuck or Sanders is able to be a competent second quarterback for me behind Trevor Lawrence. Now we get a little while here before I'm back on the clock, but I still got work to do here as we are in the 17th. So next time I'll be up will be the 18th. So just 3 picks left for your boy to take down the 200K. Let's see, whomst else? Any interesting picks here? Katron Allen coming off the board. Okay, so a lot of kind of like dusty vets, like Brian Robinson. I mean, I guess like, does this guy have Christian McCaffrey? No, does not. That's okay. Scooting back down, Cooper Kupp, Keon Coleman, Tank Bigsby, Rashard Smith, Marvin Mims, Devon Vele, Malik Washington, all coming off the board as we now get into the 18th round. So pick number wise, we are past number 200. So we're deep in the weeds now, folks. This is where it really gets fun. Keaton Mitchell, my guy, coming off the board here in the 18th. If you're not familiar with my obnoxiousness, but do love Zach Branch. Not sure how he translates to the NFL quite so much, but some people seem to believe more than I do. I was a big fan. I mean, he pretty much carried the Georgia passing game this past year, but didn't get to show a lot of like route versatility. I mean, I don't know if it's a Gunnar Stockton problem or a Mike Bobo problem, but it's pretty much just screens this year. So um, hopefully he can show that he's capable of more than that at this next level. But if Branch gets used the way that he did at Georgia for DraftKings, that's beautiful. For PPR, that's absolute gold. Now I've gotten sniped here a couple times since I've been bloviating. Emmanuel Wilson was someone that I was targeting as was Ryan Flanoy. So I was kind of hemming and hawing between taking one of those guys or Sanders, but I think my quarterback room situation was so kind of dire as far as the third one. Like I didn't want to take Aaron Rodgers and have him retire. I didn't want to take Kirk Cousins and have him land somewhere where he doesn't have a starting job, so that type of stuff. So was a little bit concerned there. I'm going to go the rookie route here at tight end. I'm going to grab Eli Stowers. Big fan of his. Kind of a long, rangy tight end. Not certainly like someone that you're hoping is getting a ton of blocking duties, but someone that I can definitely get behind. I think that the way that he carried the Vanderbilt passing game each of the last 2 years was pretty convincing, in my opinion. All right, I'm up with my 19th pick here, so we're getting into it. I'm gonna grab Ollie Gordon. Who knows? He is like a good power complement in that Miami um, in that Miami offense. You have the Thunder to Achan's Lightning. I feel like I'm kind of talking myself into things here a little bit here, but I feel like he's someone that like his skill set, his role tells me that like there's going to be at least like 3 weeks where Ollie Gordon is a usable running back, and for being in the 19th round, that's fine, right? Like you're not hoping that he's in your lineup every single week, but if he can just fall into the end zone one or two times on a couple different occasions, which he showed last year that he can, and certainly he showed in college that he can, why not? Why not? I'll probably go with the receiver here to close things out. It'll be the 20th round by the next time that I am up. This has been really fun. Everybody, really appreciate everyone tuning in. If you stuck with my preamble, it was lengthy while we were waiting for the room to fill. Really appreciate it. You're a real one. If you're just jumping in and joining us here, again, you can get signed up for rotowire.com if you use that code YouTube15. Get you 15% off any subscription. Really helpful for baseball season, which is draft season right now, or your best ball needs, which is something that I'm working on pretty heavily with our rankings, our cheat sheets, all that good stuff. Just go ahead, go to RotoWire, go to YouTube, use the code YouTube15, bada bing, bada boom, and you're set up 15% off. I don't know if anyone's active in the chat. I'm going to throw a couple names out there as potential options. I'm going to take a receiver here with my last pick. Kyle Williams is someone that I'm considering. Jalen Lane, maybe. Pop Douglas. So if I want to get just like a second Patriot, Kyle Williams or Demario Douglas could make some sense. Eric McAllister out there. I'm pretty interested in him. Tez Walker. Oh, Keandre Lambert-Smith. Remember the 2 weeks last draft season that everyone was like thinking that he was going to be the man in LA outside of Lad McConkey. Boy, the market was just wrong on the Chargers in so many respects last year, but hard to predict things playing out the exact way that they did, of course. Chris Bell coming off the board. I think he would have gone a lot higher if he hadn't gotten hurt late in the season. He's a beast with the ball in his hands. Big fan of his game and how he played at Louisville. So hoping for the best for him. Do a little bit of a homer pick, but I think there's a little bit of rationale here. I don't know if the Ravens are bringing back DeAndre Hopkins. And every opportunity that this guy's got, and he's pretty much just scored a touchdown on. Now, there's only been like 5 opportunities, but Tez Walker, I feel like it's going to be his 3rd year. The offense is probably going to look a little bit different. No Isaiah Likely, no Todd Monken, of course. So it's a kind of a fresh start. If he can impress this staff, I feel like there's a way in which Tez becomes the sort of one of the big play guys for that Baltimore offense. I think that Lamar Jackson does bounce back this coming year. Going to stay so everyone can take in the glory that is this draft. So I ended up with 3 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 8 receivers, 3 tight ends. So kind of a basic, boring build a little bit, kind of playing it safe, making sure that I have at least 3 quarterbacks and at least 3 tight ends. That's not, sometimes you can play it a little bit riskier than that, be a little bit lighter at one of those positions, but you got to, make sure that you're invested in a premium option to make sure of that, for that to, feel rather safe. I prefer to have more receivers than running backs. I don't think that that's particularly uncommon. I think the 6 running back, 8 or 9 receiver build is a little bit more what you'll see in this particular draft. Someone has 11 receivers. Team 12 went bananas with the receiver picks there. So, and pretty much, yeah, just at every stage of the draft, they're just like, yeah, I'm taking receiver. And then like their entire finishing flourish, other than Najee Harris, were wide receivers. That's an interesting tact to go about it. But again, I was picking second in this draft. Let me know what you all think in the comments. I got Puka Nacua, Chris Olave, George Pickens, Quinshon Judkins, RJ Harvey, Trevor Lawrence, Kyle Pitts, Xavier Worthy, Jadarian Price, Tyler Shuck, Brenton Strange, Keyshawn Butte, Chamir DK, Sean Tucker, Nick Singleton, Elijah Surratt, Shadur Sanders, Eli Stowers, Ollie Gordon, and Tez Walker. How do I grade this? That's fine. I'm not walking around, peacocking about this one necessarily, but I'm interested to see how these rookies in particular do, because I think I have at least 4 of them between Price, Singleton, Surratt, and Stowers. I feel like those guys are all guys that I'm kind of circling as ones that could pretty drastically alter their best ball draft position here by the end of this coming weekend at the NFL Combine. So I wanted to get in a little bit early on those guys, try to lock in just like a little bit of closing line value if I could. I feel like the weakness on my team is probably the quarterback position. Not necessarily having the 3, and not like in a vacuum. I feel terrible about where I got Lawrence, Shuck, and Sanders. I think each of them made sense where I got them. But as a collective quarterback room, I probably would feel a little bit better if it looked a little different, but could be worse. And running back could certainly use a little bit of work, although the Judkins Harvey one combo up top, I think, should pay off pretty nicely. I do like Jadarian Price as someone to raise their stock this coming weekend as well. So I think that's going to do it for me here. Again, big thanks to our friends over at DraftKings for running these contests. Love doing these live stream drafts. You can catch me over on the RotoWire YouTube channel where you're watching me right now. I'm going to be doing these every week. I'll probably tune in and do a little kind of live stream during the Combine this weekend as well. Just kind of follow along, give some instant reactions, that type of thing. Again, I'm going to leave you guys with this, some more information on DraftKings before I sign off.
It's the offseason, but on DraftKings, football never sleeps. Early Bird Best Ball is back. Get a head start on the season and compete for a share of $1 million in total prizes before the rest of the field even jumps in. Are you new to Best Ball? It's the easiest way to get in on the action without the weekly grind. Draft once, and that's it. Each week, your top scorers automatically count. No roster moves, no weekly management, Just build your squad and let it ride all season long. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app and draft your early bird best ball lineup for a shot at a share of $1 million in prizes. Drafts stay open until the season kicks off, so now's the time to jump in. You draft it, we crown it, so sign up now using the link in the description below to take your shot at a share of $1 million in prizes on DraftKings Early Bird Best Ball Contest. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, call 888-78-97-777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most states. Restrictions apply. See terms at DraftKings.com. Sponsored by DraftKings.
All right. That was my buddy Nick Whalen telling you some beautiful things about DraftKings. That's going to do it for me. I'm John McKechnie. Really appreciate everyone tuning in to the RotoWire DraftKings Best Ball live stream as we took a stab at the NFL Best Ball Early Bird Tournament, the $1 million training camp with $250K going to first prize. So it's unbelievable. Consider yourself parts of history that you just witnessed the winning draft live right here on YouTube or wherever you watch it. I guess I did tweet this out on Twitter as well. All right. You early birds out there, you night owls, that's going to do it for me here. Thanks again for watching.